Okay, hello and welcome. Today we will learn how to turn photos that you take of certain objects into a 3D model. Basically, it's the same thing as creating the Vitasoy, the juice box, except now we're learning more on the photo software to create an image like this that you can use where you extract image data and just Photoshop it into a file like this where Blender can use as a texture file. To do that, first you will take the pictures that you need. I just took a few pictures of this children's book. So one of the top view where I will extract this top image for the front of the book, and this from the side where I will take this back rib and then one more on the front. And I'll just cut and paste all into this neatly organized rectangular shape. So to do that, we will start by downloading a program called GIMP. This is pretty much a free open source version of Photoshop. Once you've got it downloaded, you can go to your image folder and right click, open with GIMP, or another way is opening your image and go to the one you want. I'm going to start with the top one actually. This top one, I'll right click and copy, go into GIMP, and I will go File, New, and with the new one, I will create a texture that is 1024 by 1024. In 3D modeling, it's best, actually, you probably must do all your texture files to the power of 2. So that means like 2, 4, 16, and then up. And the minimum you want to use is probably 128. Anything smaller, it'll become too blurry. So 128 and then 256. Next is 512. And the one we will use today is 1024. Anything bigger than 1024, your performance will start to suffer. You will start using too much RAM. So we're just going to do 1024 for today. So new image, set the size, OK, and then you will get a new canvas. And remember, we're still holding that file in our clipboard. So I will just Control V, paste it in. And you can see on the bottom right here, it says floating selection pasted layer. We're going to create a new layer, and that will turn that pasted layer into an actual layer that we can work on. Hold Control and scroll down your mouse wheel to zoom out. Roll it up to zoom in, and middle mouse is to pan, and Shift scroll up is to go left. Shift scroll up to go left. Shift scroll down is to scroll to the right. Okay, so that's some basic controls. Now we want to make this image smaller to fit our canvas because right now it's too big. So over here, if you press and hold, you get all your transform tools, or you can go up here into tools, transform tools, same thing up here. I usually use the shortcuts. So first we will scale. You can drag the bottom right corner and then the top right corner, but I like to hold Control, so I do them both at once, which is just scaling with respect to the center of the image. Once it's close, you can press Scale, and now we will cut away the table. We just want the book. For that, we will go over to the Free Select tool, and then hold Control to scroll in, and basically we're tracing the front of the book. Once we get back to the starting point, click on the beginning, and you've selected just the book. Now we're going to go Control C and then Control V, which is just copy and then paste. We'll create a new floating selection layer. Again, we will click create a new layer and then get your old layer and you can delete it by going to the X. So this is the one with the table. We don't want the table one anymore because we've already extracted the book. So select the one with the table and delete this layer. So now all we have is the front of the book. We want to bring the corners up to the canvas edge because that's more efficient way of using a texture file. For that, I'm going to go Shift P, or you can go Transform Tool to Perspective. Oh, I have the background selected, which is wrong, so I press Escape and I'll select the correct layer and do it. This time I'll use Shift P. And you just use the handles on the four corners to stretch it to match the canvas. Something like this is good. I might even go slightly overboard. So when I do the UV mapping, I won't capture any black edges. Something like that is good. And I'll click Transform. I left some room on the side here. That's to be used for, I'll go back to the texture file, for the back of the book, or the rib, and also the pages. So next up, go back to the images that you took with your camera, and I'll do this one now. I'll right click and Control C, or copy, and go back to this one. So this is the file you have in GIMP. Sorry, I have many of them open. I'll go Control Shift V, or you can go File Create from Clipboard. Okay, so let me do that again. I won't save the changes here. So I went to my image, I copied it, I go back to GIMP, and I can go File Create from Clipboard. So now it's created a new file from my clipboard, and we're going to do the same thing. Free Select Tool, and this time we'll just get the rib of the book. I'm not going to do a very precise job because you guys can pause the video and do it. Once you have it selected, Control C for copy, and then Control Shift V again. So now I've created another new file just of the rib because we need to do a few things to it. Next tool I want to show you is go to Tools, Transform Tools, and it's Shear, or Shift H. Okay? Over here, and then you just hold your mouse button down and drag, and that's how you shear the image to make it more horizontal for it to be easier to work with. Press Shear. And now when you go, if you try and perspective this, it's fairly difficult because the image is so big. So what we can do is go to Image and Crop to Contents. Okay, Image, Crop to Content, and now it'll cut the canvas to fit your content. Now if you go Shift P to do the perspective, it's a lot easier to control. Okay, I'm not going to fine tune the job. Once it's done, Control C, go back to your texture file and Control V. Again, you create a pasted layer, so you will press New. Now you got this new layer. If you want to move this image, the shortcut is M, or you can select these arrows. Sometimes you might not see it because you might have something else selected, so that's why I use shortcut. So M. To move it, next tool is rotate because I want to park it to the right. It's kind of like Tetris. So transform tool, rotate, and I'll just rotate by 90 degrees. Okay, so now I will Shift S, or you can go into Transform tool for scale. Again, I'll hold Control. The objective is just to park it here. So you guys can take your time doing it. I'm just going to speed up. So now you can see that on the side there's not much space left for the pages. So I will select my book, the front of the book, Shift S, and I'll just slide this down to make some room. That's good enough. And lastly, we will go and retrieve the pages. Same thing, I'll copy it, go back to GIMP, Control Shift V to create from clipboard, free select tool, extract the pages, copy, Control Shift V again, Shift H for shear, and then Shift P to do the perspective. Something like this is good enough. Control C again to copy this, go back to your texture file, Control V, create a new layer with the pasted layer. I just moved it up one so it doesn't get stuck behind the rib, just to make it easier for me to see. Shift R to rotate 90 degrees, and then Shift S to scale it down. M to move, and I will just place it here like that. That's good enough. Ideally, you'd want to reduce the gaps in between so you use this texture file more efficiently, but for now it's okay. Once you're done, File, Export As, and I'm just going to overwrite my old one, workbook-texture. Your default might be PNG. I like to use JPG just for the example because it's a smaller image file. It has better compression, but it sacrifices some quality. But for now, it's good enough. So name your texture file, make it .jpg, and then export. You're not going to see this because I'm replacing my old one. You should see a pop-up. Here we go. Just leave all these settings the same and press export. Once you do that, you will get this texture file. This is the one we will use in Blender. So now we will go into Blender, and let me hide this old one. So in Blender, the environment, Shift A to add a mesh and then a cube. Scale it on the Z axis to make it into sort of a book geometry. And then you're going to go into edit mode. In edit mode, we're going to create the covers and the pages, which is Control R. For the loop cut, I'm going to create a loop cut on the side, just 2 cuts. Left click to select, right click to confirm the sliding, and then now we will create another one for the rib, like that. Sorry if I went too fast, let me do that again. Control R, this is along the top edge now, and then left click to confirm, and then slide it down to the side, left click again. And to create the pages, I will press 3 to select faces, and just select all the way around, like that. Next, we're going to extrude and then scale, so that's E and then S. E and then S, and then move your mouse inwards. You can see how it's referencing to the median, which is the orange dot, the origin. We will see a problem later because when we do that, it also drags this edge inwards into the origin. So now we got to bring this edge back to the back of the cover. That's no problem. We press 2 for edge. Select this edge, and there's another edge over here, this one, and we're going to press G for grab on the x-axis and just move it back slightly, maybe a bit more, and there you go. This is the model of the book, and now we will create the material. So on the right side, go to Material Properties, which is the ball, press New, and I'll just call this book material. You can name it anything you want. With the material created, go into the Shading tab. This is where we will tell Blender to get the image file. So with your cursor in this open area, Shift A to add, and we're gonna search. Sorry, let me do it again. Shift A, search IM, will give you the top result as image texture. Set it down, connect color to base color, and this is where you will go find your image file. So select the image file you exported from GIMP. So now something popped up. But you'll notice, even though there's an image, the mapping is all wrong. So we will go into UV editing, and this part is just like the Vitasoy. So I will press 3 to select faces. Careful to select the whole top face, because there's also the part of the rib on the side after we did the loop cut. So select the whole top faces, U, unwrap, and now you can see this edge is on the wrong side, so press A to select all. Let me turn back on the screencast keys on this side, and then we're going to rotate it on this side by 180 degrees. And press 1 for vertices, select just these 4, and G, and then X to slide it back down. So you can see what happened just now. You can look on the right. The top is including the rib, which is not right. So I will just move this back to where it should be. And you can do a bit of fine tuning where this axis should line up with the back of the book. And this one should line up with the crease. So like that, it should give the best effect. Now that's done. I'll press 3 again to select faces. This time we will do the back of the book, the rib. U, unwrap. You can see how it distorts the scale. You can scale on the X and then bring it back again. Or there's another way, which I will show you. You can also rotate when you select the top vertices, because I want to fit it so it's neatly along that edge. And same with the bottom, G and then Y, so I only go up on one axis. So over here there's a bit of misalignment. We can probably adjust this face. So I'll select the top faces, and I'll take the top vertices and I will move it down on the Y just so it's more aligned. You can see a bit of the black edge here, and that's because when I did this one, I captured some of the black edge on this side. So you select the 2 vertices on the right, G and then X, and then you can see as you move it away from the black, you capture more of the blue. I'm not going to fine tune this, that's good enough. And you just do the same thing for the pages. So 3 for faces, selecting that. So the other way to do it, if I press unwrap, sometimes it gives it to you in this orientation, when in fact it should be this, like that. So instead of guessing, there's a way to do it exactly, which is to look at the face from the correct perspective. So we know this is the bottom of the book, but in this viewport, it's actually the front. So, well, I guess it's the back because numpad 1 is front, control with the numpad 1 is the back. So if you're looking exactly at this face, select it, view, and project from view. This way, this orientation will always be correct. And then rotate it by 90 again. And when you place it down, you don't have to guess the X and Y rotation. Like that is done. There's also the side of the book. I'll just quickly do this. With that, I will press U and unwrap. So give me all these cubes. I would scale it down and steal the color from this side. So when you see that, of course, you probably do the same thing for these ones. And these are all just beige color. So I will just steal the color data from something that's plain beige. I'm not going to do the back because I didn't take a picture of the back of the book. And also the side, you probably do the same thing using this one as the pages, and same with this side. But all in all, that's about it. You can see the color is a bit, it's a bit blurry, or the color is a bit off, and that's just because specular is on 0.5. Once you turn that down, your color becomes more sharp. This is just in the Blender for when you do render, but when you export to Unreal, it'll be another material anyway. So that's pretty much it. So we've taken pictures of an object we want to virtualize, and through GIMP or other photo editing software, our objective is to create a texture file that's got all of the faces, which we can link to Blender and the shading tab, and then we will tell it where the coordinates will go to get the correct image data. Thanks for watching.